Right, so there we have our circuit. It's real in the respect that we can see it, feel it. We can't touch it yet, but we send it off to PCB Way and it will come back and it will be real. And obviously we can go into Tools, 3D View, and we can get a feel for what it looks like, yeah? Pretty good, pretty good. So for some reason another copper's disappeared off the bottom, but that's just in the simulator. Okay, so there it is. It's red, it's on the bottom, because red indicates it's on the bottom. Up here we can turn the views on and off, so the far left hand side here, look, PCB, yes we can view the copper top, but we don't have a copper top, so it wouldn't make any difference if we did turn that off. But if we turn the copper bottom off, obviously that's not very sensible because now we can't see the copper on the bottom even though it's actually there. Okay. So there's our copper. Now, one thing I would say straight away is that those track widths are, so let's have a look at, if we click on nets down at the bottom again, everything to do with the drawing is contained down the bottom of the screen, and there's one on there that just says nets. If you click on that nets, and what I like to do is actually just bring this up a bit so that I can see that writing a bit better. There we go, I just dragged the window up a bit. Now I can see I've got 3 nets. Can you see that? So when I click on each one, look at the drawing in the bottom right hand corner. It's fairly obvious that the one I'm clicked on at the moment is this one here. You can see that. I click on the next one down. Sorry, click on the wrong one. Click on that one, and you can see it's a slightly different one. Click on that one, and that's the one running right way along the bottom. Yeah? I don't know why that's gone funny there, but it has. Now, one of the things about track width, what's a good rule on track width? Make them as wide as you possibly can. Why would you want to do that? Well, the more copper you've got, the less resistance there is. So unless you're building deliberately a resistor, it makes sense to have a very, very nice wide track. Carry all those electrons down. Okay, why don't you want that track to go too big? Well, if you make it too big, it's eventually going to overlap with other things which are contained in the drawing. And if it overlaps, you will get what's called a DRC, bottom left-hand corner. Look, design rule check, that's short for. And you'll see that if I click on my DRC, my design rule check, I have no errors, no red ink when I click down the bottom on DRC. So I'm happy about that situation. But what I'd potentially like to do is I'd like to make those copper areas, or the copper pads, or the copper nets rather. So I click on nets. I'd like to make them fatter so that they carry more current with less heat. Okay? Another reason that you might want to do that is that, well, at the PCB manufacturer's place, it means that you've got to etch less copper off. Remember what etching is. It's melting the copper, it's destroying the copper, bringing it into solution. So the less that you have to dissolve, because in this particular case, the whole drawing area we dissolve apart from the rivets. That's a lot of dissolving, a lot of it's unnecessary. So what I can do in this particular case is I can start to try and make these tracks fatter. Trace width. So I changed number 2 to 100. Now, just to confuse you even more, this ISO standard that they use drops the leading 0. So in other words, 10 means 1, 100 means 10 equates to 1 millimetre. 1 equates to 10 millimetres instead. Now you see that's a much fatter track. I'm going to try and do it for some of the others, although there seems to be an error on one of mine that I don't fully understand, but it seems to have mended itself now. So onto this one here, I'm going to go in and I'm going to make that 100. Click away, you can see that track's nice and big. And the last one left, I'm going to click on that and make that 100, and that's nice and big. So now if I go into my viewer, go to Tools, 3D View, and flip the board upside down so I can see the copper tracks. Now look at the copper tracks. Nice and fat, those tracks. So lots and lots of conductivity. The other thing you've got to be careful of when you go down to 1 millimetre or less is that track becomes incredibly weak. So just the action of soldering it can mean that you melt the glue and the track just lifts up and breaks. Not the end of the world, but it means you've got to get in there with a microscope, a soldering iron. You've got to do it by hand, which is very time consuming. You don't necessarily throw a PCB away if it's wrong, and you don't necessarily throw a PCB away if you break it. But it means that the time you've got to spend on it to rework it is going to go up and up and up. Now you can see how useful that is to have those nice fat tracks in there. Great, fine. I'm happy with that design. It looks rather nice actually. I'm going to go back in and I'm going to shut this down first. I want to make it slightly smaller. I can definitely make that board smaller if I want. So I can click on the component, I can still just move the components about as I see fit. See what I did there? Just clicked on the component I wish to move. I can't get hold of that one for some reason. I've got it now. Bring that across like that. And I'm going to attempt to make a much more compact PCB so that I can save some money, because obviously it costs money to manufacture PCBs, and one of the things that they metric you on is the size of the PCB. The smaller the PCB, the less money you have to pay, generally. So things are starting to look quite nice now. I'm just going to drag this one over here. And like I say, it's an art form. Draw a picture. You spend time on it, you can make these things look really attractive. Okay, I quite like that. But look at my drawing area, and this is where I quite often catch a cold here. Look at my drawing area. That's huge, right? So if I send that off to PCB Way, that's the name of the company, you're routing on the top, by the way, not the bottom. If I send that off to PCB Way, they would send it back and my printed circuit board would be that big with 2 components on there. Exactly what you see on the screen. We can do better than that. We can reduce the size of the PCB area, I hope. This is quite a tricky thing to do sometimes. Say again?
Cost of manufacturing.
Yes. Yes, very much it does. Right, so what I'm trying to do is get hold of this at the moment, which isn't a particularly easy thing to do. Board outline is on. Sorry, it's right click, I forgot it was right click. So you see what I've done there now, I've highlighted the board by right clicking on it. I'll try and do that again. And you'll you'll see if I grab one of the corners, I can drag it about. It's not the most intuitive thing in the world to use, so it's highlighted, this is in yellow. Then I right click and then I can go in and I can grab that particular corner. And you can see I've been using this package for ages and even I couldn't remember how to do that. So it's not the most friendly thing in the world. Now, if I go into Tools again and I look at my 3D view, now I've got a much more compact, look how nice that looks, look. Isn't that better? Isn't that lovely? It's a lovely, lovely little neat board. So that's a low pass filter there, isn't it? Yeah? Make sure you can do that, please. I've just got the video there and I'll show you how to put some artwork on in a minute. So we go for the resize now, redesign and resize.